I made this in PowerPoint. I'm going to show you how to do it. Step one, we're always going to start from a blank presentation and blank slide. And the first thing we want to do is create those video in the background, which is really just a series of images that are transitioning. So we're going to insert a picture. We're going to search online picture. We're going to look for Mandalorian concept art and just select, a bunch, probably like 10 to 15 that look really good. We'll insert all those. And then we want to make sure each slide has a single image on it because it will transition from one image to the next. So we'll grab that first one, make it the full size. We're just going to repeat that with all the other images until we have our full set of slides. The next thing we need to do is transition really cleanly between those. And I found something that feels kind of Star Warsy and it's not too distracting is the random bars effect. We're going to change that duration to around 0.8, a little less than a second. This was the time that felt good. We're going to apply that to all, and you get an effect that looks a little bit like this, which I think is pretty cool. So we're going to export that as a video. You just go to File and then Export. Select MP4. You can do .mov, but it's going to be a background video on a presentation. You don't need to take up the space for it, in my opinion. And make sure you set that second spin of each slide to 0. Go ahead and click Export, and you'll get something that looks a little bit like that. Great, so we have our video. Now we need the actual Mandalorian text to zoom in. So we're gonna start with everyone's favorite step, which is adding in a rectangle. And I'm gonna use that last picture as a reference. I just like the color scheme on it. So we're gonna apply a gradient effect to this. And we're gonna mirror that like dark blue, orangey dark blue. So we're gonna use the color picker, just select more colors, use the eyedropper, and we're gonna eyedrop that dark blue at the top and make that the far end of our gradient. We'll make the middle orangey, just like that picture, and then we'll use that dark blue again in the bottom. Adjust it a little bit until it's looking right, and we have our gradient background. So the next thing we need to do is insert our text we're going to cut out. So we're going to insert our text box, type in Mandalorian, center it up, and change the text to this really cool Mandalore style font that I found online. I'll drop a link to it in the description. Make it a little bit bigger, and then center it up on the slide so you have that symmetry effect. We also want to add in a top layer so it's balanced. So just the Mandalorian, I think is the actual name of the show. We're gonna make that a little bit smaller and close that gap just a hair. And to add a little bit of interest, we're gonna throw in a black rectangle on either side of the we'll adjust it till it's right where we want it. And then we're gonna copy that over to the other side. We're gonna select all the different elements and use the merge shape function union to make those all one shape that we're then going to use to cut out of our background using the shape format merge shape subtract. That's already looking really good, but we want to take it to the next level. So we're going to make it about 50-60% ish bigger and center that on the slide. This is so we can have it shrink down. Next, we're going to throw in that video that we exported. We're going to set that playback to play automatically. Then we're going to throw it behind our shape and text. Now we need to animate that shape so it shrinks down. So we're going to use the animations grow shrink effect, and we're going to change it from the larger to the smaller to see how that looks. It's pretty good. It's going a little fast and it's getting a little small. So let's adjust the speed first. For the duration, we want to match that video. So 0.8 seconds times 13, about 11 seconds feels right for the amount that it's going to shrink down. Then we want to make sure that the trigger is that it starts with the previous thing, the video playing, so they play at the same time. And like I said, it shrunk a little small, so we're going to change that smaller to maybe something like 60% rather than 50%. Lastly, we want to adjust that transparency on that top gradient so that a little bit shining through, and then throw in some shadows so the text really pops, looks like it's really standing in front of that video. Adjust the size till it's right where we want it. Really, it's up to personal preference. Play around with these settings. That looks good for you. And then we want to make sure we have a way to have a really clean wipe. So we're going to throw in a circle, add in a gradient fill, something that's on theme, maybe like a Tatooine style sun. So an orange gradient. And the purpose of this is when we morph, we want it to wipe across the whole screen as a clean transition to either our next slide or the end of something. So we'll get that where we want it. We'll make sure there's no line. And finally, we'll apply the morph transition to give us something like this. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Let me know what you want to see next in the comments.